Is there
Yeah.
anything that I did not ask you about these Thunder heading into the 21-22 season that you think needs to be covered?
I think we covered a lot of ground. We talked about a lot of individual players on the roster, but I do have one question for you. Do you think this is finally the year that SGA becomes an all-star?
Whew, that's a great question. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
say yes, because when
Mhm.
you look at his like scoring and efficiency last year, he was basically on
Yeah.
par. The only players to match what he did on twos and threes while averaging as many points were Kevin Durant and Stephen Curry. And he would have been my most improved player had he played the entire season.
Right.
That's like, and he's on a bad team, so he would never get voted. But like, that was all NBA level territory, and so
Mhm.
I do get that the talent in the West is crowded. But when you look at this season, it's like, okay, Clay is not going to play a good chunk of the year. Kawhi's out. If he's going to get classified as the backcourt, maybe Kawhi doesn't matter as
Mhm.
much. But like, this might be the year where it could be set up for him. Chris Paul is older, and then maybe he and Devin Booker kind of cannibalize from each other. And this is
Yeah.
just very clearly there's no Al Horford, there's no
Mhm.
Kemba, let alone no CB3. Like, this is
Right.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's team, and if he puts up the numbers that he did, or even anything like resembling those on the efficiency that he has,
Yeah.
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to go out on a limb, make a positive prediction for this Thunder, and say that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is an all-star. And I'll also go as far as saying that I flirt with putting him on an all-NBA team.
Nice. Okay, good answer. I completely agree with you. I think he's been like right there for like 2 seasons, and so I feel like this is finally the year. Follow-up question, do you think that this is the year that Lou Dort makes an all NBA defense team?
Ooh, that's a great question.
He somehow did not make it last year, but got 1 vote for NBA first team for defense. Tell me how that makes sense.
Oh, it doesn't. And the whole voting process very often doesn't make
Yeah,
so here's what's tough with it's even all-star voting too. People place
yeah,
so much stock in the team record or if they're voting all defense in
yeah.
where the team stands defensively. I don't know.
Mhm.
The Thunder were 26th in defensive efficiency last year. Do you think they're built to be better than that this year? Because I think they probably need to finish outside of the bottom 10 for Lou Dort to get the amount of attention that he'll deserve. And I do think we need to go beyond, like, be able to separate an individual player's performance from where the team actually
Yeah,
finishes because Lou Dort isn't playing 48 minutes a game and defending all five players at once. Uh,
right.
but I do think the Thunder need to be like not shitty on defense for him to be considered.
I think so too. Yeah, I think that's the hardest thing is like if we were just looking at the individual in a vacuum, I think he would easily make it just for his ability to constantly guard the best players on every team and really hold some of these superstar players to very limited points. As we saw him, he guarded James Harden absolutely phenomenally in that playoff series and all season. And so if we were looking at him in a vacuum, yes, but I think you're right. If you can't give someone on a team that's like bottom 5 in defense, an All NBA defense position. So hopefully they'll be a little bit better than that. I don't know where they're getting that additional defense
Right.
from necessarily.
Kenrich
Maybe
Williams
Kenrich
playing
Williams,
40
yeah,
minutes
I
a
was
game.
gonna say Kenrich Williams. Um, so yeah, maybe Kenrich Williams can help us out, or Derek Favors. We'll see. But yeah, it'll be tricky. But I would like to see both of those things happen for them if the whole season is going to be, like a 20-win season. That would be nice to have SGA as an all star and for them to get some accolades at the end of the season.
Yeah. So okay, here's a scenario to lay out for you, or just a choice.
Okay.
SGA making an all-star team, Lou Dort making an all-defense team, and Kenrich Williams being the second leading scorer on the Thunder.
Oof.
Which is more likely?
Which is more likely, or which do I want to happen more?
I know what you want to happen more. What do you view as
Okay.
the most likely of
Well,
those three?
okay, well, to be fair, if you ask me which one of those do I want to happen the most, it's actually the same answer for which I think is the most likely, and I think it's SGA being an all-star. As much as I love Kenrich Williams and I want him to be phenomenal, and I want both sides of his pillow to be cold and for him to never have a bad Monday and everything good to happen to Kenrich Williams, I do want SGA to make it as an all-star because that to me cements the future for the Thunder. That's what I care most about is yeah, we're in a tough time right now as Thunder fans, but if there's that promise at the end of this that it was worth it and that SGA really turns out to be the player that we believe that he is, I think that would be the best thing that could happen.
If he doesn't make one and is in the conversation at least, I
Yeah,
that would be like one of the new arguments for why are we still doing it by even separating it for front court, back court, or even like we need
yeah,
at that point we need two extra all star. Because I just go through the West, there's so many good guards there. it might help him that Chris Paul's older, although that really hasn't mattered lately. Jamal Murray's injured. Uh, but like, you know what they really need? Damian Lillard needs to request a trade to an Eastern Conference team. That right really sets the stage for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to just take one of those, incumbent all-star spots where you look at these players like Luka, Steph, and Dame and just say, oh well, they're clearly going to get an all-star spot. Like, you need one of those guys to not be in the mix. And Dame already seems like he hates Portland and is just waiting for next season. So they need him to up his timeline a little bit.
Right. Yeah. Like after this whole conversation we've had today, it's so clear that separating it into front court and back court just doesn't make any sense because players just fit into so many different roles on their teams now. Like, what is LeBron? What is Giannis? Like, where do those players fit in that criteria? And so I feel like they really need to just do away with that. Like, who cares if the Western Conference All-Star team is 5 point guards? Let's do it. I'm here for it. The game is pointless and meaningless anyway. So what does it even matter, like, what the positions that the players play? I think it's the actual game itself is unimportant. It is the honor of being selected that matters, in my opinion. And so I feel like I agree with you that the whole process could be a lot better.
And I think the NBA's even kind of admitted that because I mean, look
Yeah.
what they did with All NBA this year, where like they had like Jokic eligible power forward, and same with Embiid because they wanted the
Mhm.
best players to make the best teams. And it's like, okay, neither of those dudes was ever a power forward by any metric. So
Yeah.
let's just get away with positions at that point. Maybe it works the same for All Star. I mean, you mentioned LeBron as a perfect case
Yeah.
study. He's always like eligible at forward and really never point guard for All Star. He's the Lakers point guard. I don't care if he's
Yeah.
not guarding point, like he's the Lakers point guard. So yeah, I'm gonna make the prediction and say he makes it though. That's going to be my bold positive Thunder prediction.
Okay. Sounds good. I hope so